Okay, so I finally got to go out and give a good ride on the 390 Adventure with the Fuel X Pro installed and operational. My swing arm bolt finally came in. I ordered that from KTM World online. It took a little while to get it, I think a week and a half or something. Kind of slow, but I got it in. That's what I've been waiting for, is that new bolt, so I could go out and test it. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you've heard some of my complaints about different things, vibrations being one of them, steady throttle, mid-range power, engine temperature, overall usable rev range, stuff like that. And so today I got out, I did about 200 miles on the 390. I did not get any off-road stuff. We've got wildfires burning here, and so they got a lot of the off-road stuff closed out by me. So I couldn't get it out there in the dirt to try that out, but if the street is any indication as to how well it's going to do, I don't think I have any worries. So one of the problems I had from it, from the very first day I bought it, was throttle response. The throttle always felt sloppy, like an old CV carb or mechanical carb that felt like the cables were really out of adjustment. It felt like you were constantly having to adjust the throttle, even though there's just a tiny bit of play in it. It felt like you were constantly having to regulate the throttle, especially if you're doing any steady throttle cruising. You felt like the bike was always kind of lurching, and you were constantly having to adjust the throttle position to accommodate it. That issue has been solved. It no longer feels like that. Throttle response now is crisp and precise, it's predictable, and it's steady. It's reliable now. So that's one of the issues that it solved for me. The next thing that it solved for me was usable rev range, usable power through the rev range. Below about 4,000 power, the engine didn't really make much. And so you could kind of just consider that not really a usable part of the range. And then between about 4,000 and 8,000 RPM, which is where that's kind of the meat of where you tend to spend a lot of your time, it was just really anemic. You just found yourself constantly trying to rev the bike out. Above 8,000, all of a sudden now you've got the full power of the motor, which is not really a linear throttle. When you apply throttle, you want it to start pulling immediately, and you want it to pull smoothly and progressively all the way to the top of the rev range. And now it does that, and it doesn't matter what gear you're in. All gears are now accessible, regardless of where your tachometer is sitting. That is hugely beneficial. It just opens up the bike, completely opens it up. One of the other things, the minor things, was temperature. A lean condition on your engine will cause your temperature to run hotter. Your motor is going to run a bit hotter. So today, when I was riding, I typically, if we look at my temp gauge there, let me try to zoom in here, boom, see if we can see that. I'm at about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. I don't have my glasses on. I really should have my glasses on. So typically I would be sitting at about the 6 bar mark, and all day long I never exceeded that mark right there, the 5th bar, where I'm at right now. And that includes some city riding, getting through the cities here, the towns and stuff. And it is about an 85-degree day, maybe 87 or 88. So normally the temperature would be running higher. So it did effectively help cool that engine temperature down. I did ride this motorcycle for about 4,200 miles in stock condition, with the only change being made to the countershaft sprocket. I did lower the overall gearing right off the bat, and that made an absolutely huge difference just by changing the gearing. It's geared a bit tall from the factory, especially with the state of tune the engine is in with that factory gearing. Now with the Fuel X Pro in there, you could probably go back to stock gearing, because now, as I said, the whole rev range is now accessible and usable. It pulls really, really good. I sit at about 1,000 feet of elevation here at my house, plus or minus a little bit, depending on where you take the reading. My office is way down at 76 feet above sea level. So everywhere I go in the area I live, I'm either climbing or descending in elevation. When I did a lot of climbing, when I'd be going up 3,000, 4,000, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 feet, you noticed dramatically how much power you lost in the stock tune. I mean, it was really bad. Sometimes I would have the throttle pinned and I would not be able to gain any speed. And I mean, I'm not talking about pinned at 90. I'm talking about pinned at 70 miles an hour, 60 or 65, depending on the steepness of the grade. Now that is not an issue. This thing pulls super strong. I am still pulling hard at the top of a grade, and I went up to about 4,000 feet today with zero issues. So I didn't lose any power. I gained speed, gained throttle response, I gained steadiness, gained a lower temperature. It's just gains all the way across the board. I do have the Fuel X Pro, and I'm on map number 5. I do have it's labeled as Akrapovic. I know it's not. It's an aftermarket. It's a knockoff. I did pull the DB killer out too. And at this state of tune with the DB killer out, it seems to run really, really good. There's no popping, there's no backfiring, so the state of tune is really good. It's really crisp. I might try to put the DB killer back in and see how it runs with it in, because it's pretty loud. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's louder than I care for, to be honest with you. But if putting that back in costs me any performance, I'll pull it right back out, because quite frankly, this thing is a blast to ride. It is an absolute blast to ride, especially on these twisty mountain roads that I like to run on. With the power being accessible now, I mean, you just have an absolute ball on this motorcycle now. Just really transforms the bike. So I give it 2 thumbs up. If you're going to make any changes, spend any money, that fuel conditioner, that power commander, Fuel X Pro, I think there's a few others out there, whichever one you choose. Hopefully it'll be in as good state of tune as this one is. And then changing out that countershaft sprocket, just those simple little things. I did not try it with the stock exhaust, so I can't give you a report on that. My guess, though, is that it would even improve that. So before you go buying the exhaust system and all that other stuff, you might start with that commander. Otherwise, until next time, folks, keep the helmet side up.